Hey, shalom everyone. This is Chris Shoemaker, also known as Yehuda Ben Shomer, and welcome to the Daily Drosh. In today's Daily Drosh, I want to go old school. I want to go back to the Shema. Many of you know the Shema, know it by heart. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. In the English, it's Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. And it continues on and says, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength, right? And this is kind of like the John 3:16 of Judaism. Mostly every Jew knows the Shema. Just like every Christian, or even if they're Christian in name only, just about everybody knows John 3:16. That's, So anyway, I want to take a look at the Shema from a different angle, maybe than you've thought of before. So, again, it says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. In other words, you're to love God and to serve Him with all your ability, with all your fervor, with your entire being, body, soul, mind, and spirit. Now, just think back before you knew God, before you had a personal relationship with Yeshua. Many of us were living in sin, and some of us were worse sinners than others. But whatever our particular sin was, whatever our pet sin was, we just didn't serve sin. We just weren't sinners. We were fervent sinners. We were extreme sinners. We, served sin with all of our heart, our soul, our mind, our strength. Some of you were into drugs. Some of you were into pornography. Some of you were, into theft and stealing. And some of you were into other sins. Just, it doesn't matter what sin it is or what sin we're talking about. Just kind of fill in the blank of whatever sin you want. When we served that sin, and when we were living in sin, we lived sin with gusto. We lived sin with our whole being. We put our whole being into it, our heart, our soul, our mind, our body, our spirit. Every bit of us, we put into that sin because we loved that sin so much. We enjoyed that sin so much. We enjoyed what that sin gave us and what we felt by participating in that sin. So let me ask you, are you serving God in the same way? Are you serving God with reckless abandonment? Are you serving God full tilt, full force? Are you serving Him as fervently as you served sin? Wow, that's something to think about. I mean, we were dedicated to our sinful life and getting the most out of that sin. But are we the same with God? The dedication and the service that we had for sin, He wants us to channel that into service and love for Him, loving God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength. And I'm not trying to down athletics or sports, but a lot of times, here in Canada, hockey's the big thing, right? Maybe in the States, it's in whatever, in the South, it's basketball, and in other parts of the country, it's baseball or football or whatever. But you see people who don't care who's around them, and they're screaming to the top of their lungs, throwing their beer, throwing their pretzels, throwing their popcorn, and they're just like, yeah, and they're yelling until they're hoarse. And sometimes, in the bitter cold below zero weather, they take off their shirts and they paint their bodies of whatever athletic organization that they're into or supporting, and they're super fans, right? And they don't care. But yet, you go to churches and you go to synagogues, and people are just so quiet and so somber, and the praise and worship, and yeah, I love Jesus, I love God. Where is our reckless abandonment? Where is our just throwing off all restraints and loving and praising and serving God with that same kind of zeal and fervor that a person would at a sports event? Right? So let's love God with all of our heart, soul, mind, and strength, and let's serve God as fervently and as hard as we did when we were sinners and serving that particular sin that we were in bondage to, that He freed us from. So hopefully this, you were able to look at the Shema and look at serving God and loving God in a little bit different way, from a little bit different angle. Thanks for watching, guys. Shalom, Shavua Tov. See ya.